We are now on to the VTEC Solenoid assembly. We are going to be taking this off the back of the cylinder head, and there is a filter built into the gasket that I would like to check, and we're going to replace the gasket while we're there. I'll show you what that looks like, but first we got to take it off. Alright, so there's the screen, and it looks pretty clean. However, the gasket is very flat. So this is definitely an old gasket. We're going to have to clean up this surface and prepare it for a new gasket to seal against it. We're going to use some Scotch-Brite and brake clean, make it all pretty before we reattach the solenoid and VTEC valve assembly. Alright, so here is the VTEC valve assembly solenoid on top. So this is 1, 2, 3 bolts off the cylinder head, and we are going to be replacing this gasket, as well as take these 3 bolts off. We're going to be replacing that gasket, and while we're here, take this pressure switch off, and there is an O-ring. So we're going to reseal this entire VTEC assembly and clean it up, and hopefully we can pop VTEC even harder. And this thing is very brittle instead of rubbery. Look at that. This thing has never been changed until now. Alright, so there is our solenoid gasket. This guy is a plunger, pretty cool. Anyways, this is the gasket we're replacing, so let's take that guy off. Man, this one's brittle and flat as well. So we're going to clean this surface up with some Scotch-Brite. Make sure it's all ready for a new gasket. Also, we need to remove this pressure switch, and there is an O-ring right there. If you can see that. There we go. So we need to take that off and replace that as well. Alright, so our parts have been cleaned and ready for our new gasket. Be sure this guy doesn't fall out, because it can. Again, we cleaned all of the mating surfaces, and now we're ready for our gasket. And like I said, this guy will fall out, so be careful. There we go. Back in business. Let's get our bolts and just start them. Alright, and then we'll just snug them down with the wrench, and then we'll move on to this one. Alright, next is the main gasket that attaches to the cylinder head. This one's got the screen in it. Alright, this one is ready to go. Lastly, we have the oil pressure switch on the VTEC body here. This O-ring goes in like so, and then we can go ahead and screw our pressure sensor back in. snug that down with a wrench, and we have successfully rebuilt the VTEC valve body assembly. All new gaskets. Gonna have great oil pressure, a great seal. So again, we should be popping VTEC really nicely. Let's put it back on the car.